Hello, welcome to a new video. Today I'll be showing off my little dip pen ink drawing things that I made, and also be making a couple of new ink drawings with the dip pen. The nib that I'm going to use here is this like slanted tip or nib with it has like this little ink reservoir built into it, so you don't need to dip it as often, which is pretty cool, I think. I'm also going to be using a chocolate brown ink. Yeah. That's it basically. Today I was watching a video on like a YouTube video on the importance of making bad art. And I think, well, it wasn't literally like, because if art is bad, it's kind of subjective. Like someone might think that something is trash is beautiful, and another person who thinks that it's still trash. And on the other hand, something that many people might find beautiful, someone else might find kind of trash for several reasons, which is fair. Like, I believe that there is no real perfection in the world in a way that it would there is no perfection of the kind that would appeal to everyone in this world. And I'm coming into terms to accept that you can't really please everyone, and you also can't be everyone's friend, and that is okay. Sometimes it's just fine to exist as you are. And yeah, I guess I'm trying to get kind of philosophical over here. So this little boxy creature was kind of inspired by the little Hello World robot creature that Louison has. I really like his songs, they're really cool. And he has a lot of creativity, which is a very cool thing. Very admirable and big inspiration, I would say. And just fun to listen to whenever. I think this time I'm kind of enjoying just not like, I will make sure the footage isn't sped up, and I don't really feel the need to edit this to be any different other than adding this like voiceover audio on top But today I don't really have much of substance to say. This is just like a small doodle moment, something to like get small creative energies out and try to like focus on my creativity. Because it's also important to not let distractions take control of you or your life. And this is kind of a reminder to myself, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who kind of resonate with those kind of thoughts. Like, don't let the distractions become your life. Because sooner than you realize, it's been a year, even a whole year, yes. And you realize you might have wasted a whole ton of time that you could have used to do so many things. And it's important not to dwell on the past too much, but it's always something that we can learn from our history, whether it's your personal history or like the history at large. So never forget the history behind you, but just don't dwell on it too much, because that can also affect your mental health in a negative way. Of course, not everything can be rainbow and sunshines at all times. Sometimes we have negative times. In our lives. And that's something we just have to accept. But it's important to kinda not let the negative thoughts turn into bad thought spirals. And learn to relax and just like regain focus. And I do mean like more tangible focus, you know? The kind of focus when you only do one thing at a time. Personally, I was suspecting of my brain being somewhat spicy or weird for a long time, or at least for the maybe past year or so. But maybe to some amount distractions in my life, primarily like digital, for example, being on being on computer, being online, being on Discord. I'm sorry, it's a nice platform, but it is full of distractions for someone like me. I'm in a ton of communities, small communities and larger communities, and it can be quite exhausting at times. And there's just like this information overload, and I can spend a lot of time forgetting about myself. And I need to regain that focus and that memory of just remembering myself. I know it might be a little funny to... For me, it feels funny to say these things in English, because it feels like I'm just kind of saying words and putting them together in the way that I've heard so many other people also talk about. But I'm not trying to be some self-help channel or anything. I'm just kind of throwing out my thoughts over here. Well, just doodling. Or I'm not doodling currently, I'm just looking back on my lovely drawing footage. I will say about the materials, I had just cut up this frozen pizza box and a couple of other like cardboard or cardstock packaging and used that as my canvas because I was feeling kind of cheap today. And it's one of those things that even if you can afford something like good paper, so to speak, like then you have this expectation of, well, I can't do anything on this so-called good paper, like Bristol paper or something, because you don't want to ruin it, so to speak. And that's like you're not ruining something by using a fancy paper, but on the other hand, you might feel that, oh, but because this paper is so expensive and I only have a limited amount of this paper in here, I don't want to use it. And then you have basically useless paper because you're never going to use it. Or maybe you do use it someday, but it's probably gonna be far off into the future and you never really consider using it, which might be an issue. But yeah, I was feeling it's way more chill when you're doing traditional art, traditional drawing, working with inks and stuff. You can use them on all kinds of surfaces for the most part, so cardboard, cardstock, frozen pizza, that was pretty good. um, trying to keep the rambles not so rambly. But yeah, I felt recently that it's quite fun to work with. Um, dip pens and inks. I only have two little bottles, but it's quite nice. One is this like Oxford blue, and the other one is chocolate brown. And I think with usually I like putting the Oxford blue on the grey paper because they kind of match in a way. But today I was just using the chocolate brown because they're both kind of like dark, and if you don't dilute it with water or something, then it kind of looks the same either way. I mean, they do have a slight tint to it, or like this color variation, which is nice. You can kind of tell it's a little like warm and not cold like blue. And also for a while now, I've like wearing these two rings on my hands. Like the one with the red gem and little balls on my left hand, and the one with the frog, and it's probably not an authentic gemstone, it's probably just, it feels plastic, or it might be like some like rough glass, but I doubt it's an actual gemstone. But this little frog on my right hand, and it's cute. I'm not sure if you're able to tell that it's a frog, but I know it's a frog. So that's all that matters, I suppose. So yeah, there was still ink left on the little cartridge part of the dip pen, so I'm just kind of adding little details here and there. And then I noticed that there's even more of the ink left. And the dip pen just didn't feel like it was working that well on the like brown cardboard anymore. So I decided to take the more gray cardboard surface and draw a little bunny there. And that was cool. I've also been meaning to do calligraphy a little more, but I don't have a very interesting style with that, so anyway, thank you for watching this video and I hope to see you again. Bye bye.